Is Ford secretly building a performance small truck? There's a chance that a 2023 or later Ford Maverick ST is in the works. Let's talk about it. As someone who has attempted to order a Ford Maverick but was stopped by Ford, hearing that the potential of a Ford Maverick ST is out there makes me really excited. I actually had a first generation Ford Focus ST back in 2005. Loved that car. It was lightweight, it was fun. But nowadays I've got a family, I work in construction, I need a truck. So how could we perfectly meld those two worlds together? A Ford Maverick ST. I would love it. Apparently Ford has said before that it's considering a sporty Maverick version that would go alongside the sort of traditional EcoBoost and four-wheel drive model and the baseline hybrid model. Now, an automaker can say whatever they want, they can consider whatever they want, but until we see some hardware in the flesh, we don't really have any reason to believe this is a potential. But there were just some spy photos shot recently that show some kind of a different Maverick that's in testing. Let's look at these pictures. Okay, it's not the highest quality picture, but let's talk about what we can see. First of all, we know it's a Maverick because it's a very distinctive shape. So we can see the very distinct plastic bed rail topper. We can see the front fender area that's definitely a Maverick. The bed is obviously a Maverick bed. The size of it tells us it's a Maverick, so this isn't some other different truck. It's definitely a Maverick. And there's some pretty unique touches here that if we really zoom in, we can point these out. First of all, in the back bumper, there appears to be a dual exhaust exit kind of integrated into the bumper itself. Now, if you really squint your eyes, especially on that right side bumper, it looks like there's potentially an exhaust pipe there. So this really could be dual exhaust coming out of the back of the truck. The more obvious things that we can see here are the fenders and the wheels that are really camouflaged. So it's kind of funny to me that they didn't camouflage more of the truck, because this actually makes it really evident what the changes are. You've got some wider fenders on there, Ford. You've got some different wheels on there. It's very obvious. You should have camouflaged the whole truck. We see what you're up to. There's of course a chance that those wider fenders are there just for looks, but there's also a good chance that if they're making a sporty version, they would want to increase the width of those wheels. They could actually increase the spacing so that the vehicle has a more square stance, or they could just put a wider tire on there and a wider wheel, so they would need a wider fender to cover those up and encompass those. Either way, I think that's pretty appealing. Then if we look at the rest of the spy shots that are here in the very front of the vehicle, we can look there into the grille. There's a chance that there's some extra cooling going on, so it's very visible that there's some kind of heat exchanger happening there. I don't know if it's a radiator or an intercooler, but it's very evident that there's some hefty cooling going on. I'm also not totally sure, but it almost looks like the ride height is a little bit lower too. Let me know what you think compared to the Mavericks that you see on the road, but if we look at this rear 3/4 angle shot, it almost looks like the gap between that rear tire and the fender is a little bit tighter. They could also have extended that fender lower to give it that look, but it kind of looks that way to me. If we look at this shot that's from the front looking down the side of the vehicle, we can definitely see that those fenders are flared out. I've always liked the look of a widened fender flare, especially when it's from the manufacturer, not like an aftermarket one, and so that kind of thing gets me excited. Don't get too hyped up if you Google this and you find some kind of concept rendering images, because this happens a lot where there's sort of rumors about a vehicle and then somebody does a Photoshop of the existing car and they try and make it look like what they think the future vehicle might be. This one that I'm putting up on the screen here is not the official Ford Maverick ST image. This is something that somebody has made, but it's fairly convincing. I mean, it looks like those same tailpipes from that test vehicle. It looks like wider fender flares and unique wheels. I think if Ford did make a Maverick ST, it could look pretty similar to this. I get excited personally about a sporty truck because I just like the concept of that. It's like a do-all vehicle. Have some fun while you're doing work, or have some fun while you're hauling the family around. I've driven Raptors. I understand that that's fun and it's high performance in kind of its own way, but that's really a Baja truck. That's not something that's made for asphalt, despite the fact that most people just drive them around on asphalt. Plus, the fact is that the Maverick is just so small, it could actually be fairly responsive and quick and fun. I think that there's the makings of something really good here. If we think about what Ford would have to do to make the Maverick ST something that sells well and that doesn't cost them a lot of money to make, it's got to be a parts bin car. So if they make this vehicle, they're definitely going to take existing components from other vehicles and slap it in here. Obviously, you can already get a Maverick with a purely gas engine that makes 250 horsepower. That's the 2-liter EcoBoost. So there's really no reason to make a special ST version if it's going to have a kind of base model engine in it. We'd have to extrapolate in our minds, potentially, that Ford would put a more high performance engine in there. I think the logical fit would be their 2.3-liter turbocharged engine that makes between 300 and 330 horsepower, depending on its application. Now, a truck that small with 300 or 330 horsepower could be a lot of fun. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the last time that I remember there being a small performance truck on the market that you could buy was a Toyota Tacoma X-Runner. And I actually test drove one of those from a dealer because I was getting ready to buy a truck and I thought, hey, I've got to sell this fun car. I had a Mazda Speed Miata. I'm going to get a truck. Let's see if we can have a fun truck because it's still got a bed. I could put stuff in the back. Let's see if this thing kind of ticks those boxes. It really didn't do it for me. I love that it was a manual, but the transmission was very tractor-like. The engine wasn't super responsive or powerful. It didn't really feel light on its feet. It felt like someone had just lowered a normal V6 Tacoma. But a lot of time has passed since that Tacoma came out, and the manufacturers themselves are getting better and better at giving us the performance vehicles that in the past we had to sort of make ourselves. I would think that a parts bin Maverick ST that's got all-wheel drive, 330 horsepower, and Maverick pricing could be a real sweet spot. So somehow, if Ford ever sees this video, please make us a Maverick ST, because I think that would be hilarious. Speaking of Ford Mavericks, they're in crazy high demand and they're getting some hefty dealer markups right now. I made a video about that right here, so click on this box to watch that video next.